Black attack.
Black girl.
My movie can't come out now.
Oh, so is he serious?
Hello and welcome to the Nerdery, our second episode of this new show we'll be doing where we just talk about nerd news for the most part, every different type of category I can find, and then we'll be talking about a random topic we generally decide on beforehand. Today we're going to be talking about pro wrestling, but first let's get into the nerd news of what's happening. Friend G, his phone must have dropped out on him, but he will be right back, I presume. All right, first up, Neil Patrick Harris has joined the cast of Doctor Who as part of its 60th anniversary. No details about the length of time he'll be around or what his character is, but it'll help them get extra media attention, and that's always good. You know, more mainstream viewers watching. And let's see, next up, Capcom held its game showcase. They got new DLC coming for Resident Evil 4, and they also revealed that they're doing another remake, DLC for Resident Evil Village, and they're doing a remake of Resident Evil 4. Fans aren't really liking some of the aesthetic changes they're doing so far, but we'll have to wait and see because I think it's still a long time off. Meanwhile, Square Enix held a celebration stream sort of for the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. They announced a remake of Crisis Core, and that's supposed to be coming out this winter. And they also revealed that next winter is the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. It's called Rebirth. G, you play any of the Final Fantasy games?
Yes, I played the original 7, 8 Tactics, and that's pretty much I kind of stopped at, really, on Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I played 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then a little bit of some of the others, but that PlayStation era was the best. All right, next up in nerd news is Netflix announced a new reality competition series based on the Squid Game. Hopefully not entirely based on Squid Game since people were getting killed. But 456 players from around the world are going to compete versus each other for $4.56 million. All right. Next up, Bethesda held their showcase for Starfield and its gameplay. Starfield, made by the same people who did the Fallout games and Elder Scrolls like Skyrim. People really didn't take too well to the gameplay that they did show. A lot of people comparing it to No Man's Sky and Star Citizen. Next up on the news, Tim Sale, comic book artist, he passed away. He was mainly known for doing work on Batman The Long Halloween, and he also worked on a lot of different Marvel comics and the TV show Heroes.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
I like The Long Halloween.
Next up, HBO announced a new Game of Thrones show that will focus on Jon Snow, and it's going to take place after the end of Game of Thrones, so it's not a prequel or any crap like that, which is always good. Next up is not officially announced, but insiders are saying that Ezra Miller is going to be done as the Flash. All these recent headlines he's going through, apparently the final straw for them was that he was harassing a 12-year-old, grooming her to the point that the parents had to file a restraining order against him. And just like an hour ago, news broke that he's was discovered to have several children in his home with 8 guns in the living room just laying out there, and a 1-year-old baby had a bullet in its mouth. So yeah, he'll be done as the Flash. The Flash movie that comes out next year has been filmed already, but it's about the multiverse. So it wouldn't really be too difficult for for them to film a last minute scene, put it at the end of the movie where someone else debuts as a new Flash. So I'm guessing that's what they'll probably have to do. Uh, Elsewhere in comic book movie news, for Phase 5 of the MCU, Kevin Feige is teasing that it's going to be about Secret Wars. In comics, Secret Wars was like the first time a major crossover happened in comic books. And it kind of steamrolled the whole event comics. Like DC's reaction to it was Crisis on Infinite Earths, which happened in 1985. Secret Wars was 1984, and it sold so well. It was also the debut of the Venom symbiote for Spider-Man, and it had basically where an alien named the Beyonder gathered up all these heroes and all these villains on a planet called Battle World. At least I think that's what it was. And basically had them fight each other to see who was better, heroes or villains. But it was interesting because Magneto was sided with the heroes at the initial sorting, and that was the first time Magneto was viewed as someone who's not inherently evil. He just has different views. So that was always an interesting little side.
He was never bad though. Sorry, I'm saying he was never bad. Like you said, he just had different views. He was not a bad person. He just wanted equal rights. That's what it comes down to it for the mutants.
He did. He certainly had a different means to get those equal rights, but it was just kind of funny when all the heroes and Magneto, and they were like, "What the hell?" And it also really shot Doctor Doom up to prominence as a major MCU villain, because that was the story where he was like, he took the Beyonder's power just through sheer will. And the last piece of nerd news we're going to share with you is just that the Umbrella Academy Season 3 started yesterday on Netflix. I've watched the first episode, that's it so far, but it's good. I'm curious to see how they turn Ellen Page's character into Elliot Page's character, because the first episode I saw so far, it's still the same Vanya, and they just have a wig on Elliot Page. So, not sure how they're going to explain it, but I'll stick around because it is a really good show. All right. And now we're going to start talking about pro wrestling. Now, G, why don't you tell me when you first started watching pro wrestling?
It's kind of hard to remember because it was kind of like off and on. Like whenever I saw it, it was like early '90s. It had to be like 90, 91 when we were stationed in Germany, because we had one channel that was in English, so you kind of watch what you can get, But yeah, I kind of watched it roughly that time frame, but I didn't really get into watching wrestling per se. Probably roughly 1999. That's when I actually started watching it, because I went back stateside, I had cable and all that stuff, so I actually kind of started watching it more. But I watched mostly WCW, of course. I kind of veer off the WWE. We're just talking about WCW. But yeah, I always enjoyed WCW. NWO, I think they kind of played that out a lot, and but I did enjoy. I just like about WCW, towards the end of it, they did give a lot of those new guys a lot of. I think they had a lot of potential. Alex Wright, like Sean O'Hare, rest in peace. Him, he was like a good innovator. What's his name? Shane Helms, when he actually started on his own. Yeah, then he was just, I think he was just, especially the cruiserweights, it was just killing it. There was so much Okay, the storyline wasn't as good as WWF, but the action and the talent was better on WCW far most, and I liked it because there's always something, especially the moves and stuff. It's always you always get I always got hyped up, especially in the comedy skit with what's his name, Chris Canyon, positively Canyon. That he definitely.
Did you watch the Dark Side of the Ring that came out recently about Chris Canyon?
No, no, I didn't see that yet, but I know why he got fired. Because it's just messed up, and he was committed suicide. But not too long after that, it was just messed up. It wasn't. He guess his
If you want like an insider viewpoint of what happened with Chris Canyon and what was going on in his personal life, watch the Dark Side of the Ring on Chris Canyon. It was really informative because I was totally confused about what happened, and all of a sudden he killed himself, and I had no idea what was going on. So watching it all these years later, having different wrestlers give their basically testimonials on what his last few years was like. It was really interesting. And it was also cool how many wrestlers like really celebrated the work he did in the ring and how much he tried to innovate and create new moves and all that.
That's why he was known as the innovator of offense.
Yeah.
And he helped so many people get, where they're at, DDP, I think Billy Kidman. He helped a lot of wrestlers get through, end up a lot of them. I don't know who else he did. I know he did quite a few, but still.
They did a lot of interviews with Brian Cage because Brian Cage was someone who was apparently really close to him, and I had no idea.
I didn't know Brian Cage. That's a big age difference, ain't it? No.
Yeah. So it was when Brian Cage was like just starting out.
Yeah, so he's probably teaching him. Yeah, I like that because he put him like. I say Chris King could have gone all the way, possible. He said, I don't know, maybe booking how they booking and had a lot to do, but a lot of it, I think he wanted the other wrestlers. He saw something in them and helped them get over. And a lot of people just do that. It's like the thing they like to get help, especially it's just a different light. They do it for different reasons up in that and some of them jobs. And he's one of those guys that they should have really took care of him.
Yeah.
Just like, Lance Storm. Yeah, I know he's doing, I think, what AEW stuff in the background. Or Impact. I thought he was doing something.
He was doing, I think he was working for the WWE, but he's never worked with AEW.
Oh, okay. I just got some on wrestling bios. I saw he was doing something.
I think at the start of the pandemic is when they released him.
Yeah, and I think Dean Malenko got some.
Dean Malenko is at AEW.
Yeah, is he? I think he got something. He had some type of something with him. Not like a medical issue, I believe.
I don't know, not that I'm aware of, but I mean, he's obviously way too old to be wrestling or anything.
Yeah.
My viewing order is very similar to yours in that I watched it a little bit in the early '90s when I was a little kid, and then it wasn't until 1997 is when I started watching it again as a teenager, and that's when I really got into it. Different from you though, I never watched a single episode of WCW. Never. I always only watched WWF. And for me, like during certain debuts, I had no clue who some of these people were. Like Chris Jericho was made to be a huge deal when he joined, but I had no clue who he was other than like old school wrestling magazines. It would feature, wrestlers from the different companies. So I had a vague idea who he was, but it wasn't until years later that I watched some of the stuff he was doing in WCW and how good it was. And then, of course, I read his book about his time in the independents and then in WCW, and that was really good. I would say his book and Mick Foley's book, both really, really good.
He was in ECW too.
Yeah, they both.
Yeah, they all were. Yeah, they were actually. Yeah,
there was some funny stories about Paul Heyman and how much he likes to lie to people.
Yeah, it's just funny. I've been a lot of wrestling. I've been getting to information. I've been finding out what's his name on YouTube, Marky D, 123, the British dude. Okay. And there's been a lot of stuff. He does a lot of TNA, especially a lot of TNA stuff. And wrestling bios, I did get a lot of he does definitely good research and good work on his stuff. But It's just, yeah, I like I like the WWE. I like, so I liked all the things, just depending on what you were looking for at that time. But WCW definitely maybe like for the most like action and laughability and stuff, comedy too.
So, what was your reaction when you heard about this happening? These four jumping ship out of nowhere.
Other than the Radicals, yeah, I was shocked on that. Well, that war against them, they had to go somewhere.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean, Chris Benoit had just won the WCW title like the day before,
yeah,
and then showed up on Raw the next day.
Yeah, that's just I was shocked on that when I saw them on there for real. But I knew they're gonna jump ship. It was just a matter of when.
So you would like flip between the two shows?
Yeah, on Mondays. Yeah,
There's no
classic.
on that. So what was your reaction when WCW was sold to WWF?
I was like, damn, I thought it was gonna be something good, like a good storyline, good. Who's gonna get over there? But of course, it was kind of like, I guess they just when they bought it, it was just like they really didn't plan out what they're gonna do,
right?
Because it was just like kind of they got it, then they just kind of winged with it in a way, but they didn't really plan out. And they lost a lot of the wrestlers they did bring over, but a lot of them they shouldn't change a lot of their move sets, a lot of their gimmicks, because that's how they were perfect.
Well, there was a couple issues with bringing wrestlers over. One, contracts that wrestlers had were with the parent company,
Time
TNT
Warner.
and all that.
Yeah.
So when they bought WCW, they didn't get any of the contracts. So these wrestlers had the choice to either sit at home and just collect money until their contracts ended, or drop that money and sign new contracts with WWF instead. And of course, wrestlers like Booker T, Lance Storm, some of them did do that, DDP, because they didn't want to sit at home and wait. They wanted to start right away. So they gave up their big, big money contracts to take less money to start at WWF early. Whereas other wrestlers like Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Goldberg, they all were just content to just sit at home and collect the money until their contracts ended. Then they went and got a job at WWF.
Because they knew they were going to get that. Especially Hulk Hogan, he knew he was going to get that job. That's just and all that money he was making.
The other issue was that the WCW wrestlers were in a different ring than the WWF wrestlers. The WWF ring was much larger. I don't know if you remember the first time they had Booker T versus Buff Bagwell as the main event of Raw. And the match was terrible. And they blamed it on the fact that both wrestlers were exhausted because they weren't used to running around the ring so much. Because the ring was so much larger, more steps were needed to actually run the ropes and everything.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
It was because of how bad that match was that they completely changed their plans again. Because you know how they did the whole Raw and SmackDown draft thing the following year?
Yeah.
That was actually supposed to be originally WWF and WCW having separate shows and different wrestlers getting drafted to WWF or WCW. But because they decided to ixnay on creating WCW as its own brand, that's when it became Raw and SmackDown instead. So if Booker T and Buff Bagwell could have had a better match, we would have been looking at a completely different wrestling program.
Dang.
So who were your favorite wrestlers back then?
That time frame, I liked, like Booker T. Booker T, Chris Kanyon, DDP, Shane Helms, Sean O'Hare.
I was impressed with Shane Helms when he first came over. He immediately dropped the Cruiserweight title to Billy Kidman, which I thought was kind of messed up. But, they were able to keep him around until he started the whole Hurricane gimmick. And that transformed him into somebody who could stick around for years to come. Whereas, unfortunately, Palumbo and O'Hare, they were just seen as generic wrestler number 1 and 2 and eventually fizzled out.
Sean O'Hare was not like a normal wrestler. The way he wrestles, just had the speed and how big he was, how strong. Like they could have used him a lot, honestly.
From what I understand, I think it was O'Hare that got into the Undertaker's like bad graces, and it was the Undertaker who was like, "This kid ain't no good," and got rid of him. I think he came back with Roddy Piper as his manager for a very brief time.
Yeah, that's seven because he was trying to do that little this Black Widow thing, a Savvy Deadly Sins type thing. And when Raven trying to start that thing, the Raven shipped up to TNA, so they probably pushed that gimmick to him. I think that thing when Roddy Piper ended, I think he passed away or something, so they couldn't deal with something with O'Hare.
Speaking of that era of TNA starting out, did you notice that they were giving all the female wrestlers in WWF the TNA superstars finishing moves? That's something I always thought was funny back then. But Candice Michelle took Christian's finisher. His Unprettier became her Candy Wrapper finisher. Michelle McCool took AJ Styles' finisher, the Styles Clash. That was like them trying to embarrass TNA wrestlers by having all the women do their finishers. It was very petty.
Yeah, he did that. And I think Sonny Siaki used to do the Prettier. I think he did it at WCW. Then he turned into the little Crossroads version. The Crossroads he got.
My favorite wrestler back then, like in '97, was Undertaker. So when he started the whole Ministry of Darkness thing, I was super into that. I also really liked a lot of like wrestlers who never got what I thought there was their due. So I became a big fan of D'Lo Brown. I became a big fan of Christian because I felt like Christian was always like looked over because everyone wanted Edge to be the star, whereas I thought Christian was the better wrestler. So
Christian was a better wrestler. He was better on the mic, honestly. Like I like when he went to TNA, I was impressed because he really knew what he had, and now he's on AEW. You know that feud with him and Jungle Boy, and he's good on the mic. I'm like, he was good. He was just like you say because Edge had the look, the pretty long hair, the hot topic look, and I'm like, yeah, but Edge couldn't wrestle with a damn compared to Christian.
Edge always seemed very lazy, especially in those big TLC matches. He was never taking any of the big dives, jumps. Like the one spot he did with Jeff Hardy spearing him from while he was hanging from the belts. I mean, that's like it for Edge. Most of those matches, he did the bare minimum because he was always like, I'm not going to get hurt. Whereas everyone else is killing themselves to make the match good. Edge to me was just, I mean, the first ever Money in the Bank match that he won, did he do anything in that match?
No, just the only thing he was good about is just taking people's girls.
And I actually got to meet D'Lo Brown. It was a big moment for me.
Yeah, lucky.
Not only was he super cool, but I accidentally walked away with that European title. And he was like, oh, come back. I was just like so starstruck, and I'm like walking away with the belt still around my shoulder.
He said he was like going to put you in the sky high. I like D'Lo was underrated too. D'Lo, like I like when he went to. It was so crazy. I know we can't. Well, you don't talk about a lot on TNA, but I'm saying because everything kind of cross lines with each of the promotions. But I like it when he went to TNA. Like how like the moves he was doing, and for his size, he's doing like that him and especially when him and AJ were a tag team together, and it was just like their coordination was so well done. And of course, Slapnuts is all taking the title and everything. Like I'm double tag.
Yeah, I had a lot of issues with Jeff Jarrett, but. In 2005,
he's having a good wrestler. It's like he's lazy. Even his finisher is lazy, just stroke. It's just like, oh, I'm just too lazy, and just go down. And you do a drop kick in a figure 4, and that's all he does.
the 3 moves, and a ref bump, and a kick to the nutsack, and a chair, and a yeah, literally. That's why it's like his 4 moves: the stroke, ref bump, kick to the nuts, and a guitar shot. That is his 4 moves.
I when Christian left WWF in 2005, that was a big year for him. That was the whole, Peeps, Captain Charisma. Like he had gotten so over with the audience in just a few months. Everyone was loving Christian. And what did the WWF do? They had him lose like every single match. They had him lose to Ric Flair, like somebody who wasn't winning anything. They had him lose over and over and over to try to get the crowd to stop cheering for Christian.
Why would they do that? That's just money for them. And you just heard this dudes who've been faithful to y'all for all those years.
Yeah.
But because it's just like that, because they do that when people start doing good.
Yeah,
like,
it happened years later to Zack Ryder.
Yep. Now he's doing good now.
Yeah, but he was super over with the crowd, thanks to his YouTube show. Everyone wanted to see him. Everybody's cheering him. And what would they do? They would have him go out there and get pedigreed by Triple H because Triple H thought it'd be funny. Like, there was no point to it. And eventually they had to give in. But Christian went to TNA in 2005, and that really exposed me to their crop of wrestlers and their type of wrestling. So I saw, AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe, and then the following year, Kurt Angle followed Christian, and
everybody else followed over a lot of WWE. But they said they heard a lot of talent that been there faithful day one that they couldn't get their break because WWE folks kept coming in. And Christian, I would say no problem. Angle was already established, man, but I can't hate on him, man. That man worked on there. Like, he even said, even though he was getting less money, that was the best promotion he worked because it's just that man, you guys call him Park Angle, they called him, the guys. But
I think what a lot of people forget is that Kurt Angle spent a lot more years in TNA than he did in WWF.
Yeah, and he was more active in TNA.
Yeah.
Because like I said, they just stayed in Florida. I think that time they were on the road like that. They stayed in Florida, so it was so much easier for him.
But I stopped watching TNA in 2008 when Christian went back to WWF in 2009. And it was apparently a good thing that I did stop watching it, is because that's when Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff came in and apparently ruined the show. Yeah,
2010, it kind of, 9. They said that 04 and the 9 was one of the best years of TNA. Then after that, it just got ruined. And it just ruined it ruined a lot of things. You can talk to I don't know if you see it, like I said, his YouTube earlier, Marky D 123. You should watch his TNA stuff. It's so funny, and he gets it. It's just he explains all the stuff like that. It's just he's right, and I've been watching all the stuff. A lot of the stuff they went down, and all these stupid factions and stuff. They kept jumping through different television owners or whatever companies.
And so I started falling out of wrestling a little bit, but then I got hope again in 2011. Christian won the world title, only to lose it a couple days later, but he still got to be a world champion. So I was like, hey, maybe I'm going to start watching wrestling on a more regular basis now. And then CM Punk had his pipe bomb, and some changes started happening in wrestling that was, I couldn't stand watching WWF for many years because every single pay-per-view was John Cena, Randy Orton, Triple H for 3 years straight. It was some variation of John Cena, Randy Orton, Triple H. I couldn't stand it. I just didn't get why they would do this. And I know the switch to PG happened. And to me, that's not what killed the show. To me, it was just them pushing the same people. And they had a great crop of people waiting. They had Cody Rhodes. They had MVP. They had Shelton Benjamin. They had Carlito. They had a lot of great wrestlers ready to take that next step, Dolph Ziggler. But they were so focused on just keeping it on John Cena, Randy Orton, Triple H. And eventually, one by one, a lot of those wrestlers just would leave or just give up. And I couldn't blame them. You know,
But they're old. They can't look at it to a point. Yeah, you get it, but you're like working the dog crap out of them. They kind of consider, you're even though they're like, their age might be young, but their body, the beatings, the surgeries, it's like you're increasing your age even further. More your body seems older
I,
now.
I couldn't blame them for leaving just because of the frustration they were probably feeling. Like, give me a chance, give me the time, Same reason Christian left in 2005. So I didn't blame him when Shelton Benjamin left the show. Because
I
I
don't
thought,
blame them, yeah,
I
because
mean,
they're doing a lot better on these other. You could say like the other companies promotion. They're doing a lot better. It's like they're healthier and
unfortunately, they still haven't gotten over their crap because 10 years later, I'm bitching about Cesaro not being given an opportunity. It's Roman Reigns is the champion for like 2 years straight. What
and Cesaro and what's his name? The Irish guy. Uh,
Sheamus?
Sheamus, yeah, Sheamus been kind of high, man. They keep pushing him low, they get him up, and they keep pushing
Do
him.
you know why Sheamus went from being a nobody on their third brand ECW to suddenly being WWF champion? Because he was the workout partner of Triple H.
Oh,
He went from doing absolutely nothing. I think he was in a feud with Goldust on ECW, and then 2 weeks later, he's the WWF champion. And it was because he was working out with Triple H a lot in the gym, and they struck up a friendship, and then all of a sudden, he shot to the moon.
this is who you know, right? Yeah.
And that kind of pissed me off because it's like, I hate to see people come in. Like, I hated Brock Lesnar when he came in and just immediately won the title 3 months into his career. Like, I hate that. I mean, it didn't surprise me at all when Brock Lesnar left the WWF to try to go become a football player and then MMA. Because if you don't put the time in, you don't learn to respect the business. You're not going to give a crap when you're made champion. You're not going to give a crap, and you're going to leave. So it just frustrates me to see people who busted their ass and did great work for like 10 years get absolutely nowhere. That's why Kofi Mania was such a big deal, because everyone loved the fact that Kofi Kingston was being given a chance to become WWF champion. And unfortunately, what happens usually when they give those guys a chance? They put them in nothing feuds. They don't barely show him at all. And then he loses to Brock Lesnar in like 6 seconds.
Yeah, they do that crap. And what about when what's his name? Rey Mysterio won the belt. They're like that late that night he lost it, I think. I'm like, dang, he let the man have 24 hours. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna challenge you for the belt. I'm like, dang, I just got the belt. I'm like,
Yeah,
man, breathe.
that was in 2011. Rey Mysterio first got the championship in like 2006, I think, and he was same deal. He was given like nothing feuds. Like, they had him feud with Kane first, and when you have Rey Mysterio versus Kane, what are those matches going to look like?
Yeah.
When Dolph Ziggler was finally given the belt in 2010, I think, or 2012, somewhere in there, he was given a feud with, I think, Jack Swagger or something, like a terrible, or no, Alberto Del Rio, like a nothing feud. And of course, fans aren't going to get into it, there's several other examples that we could talk about, but I mean, I don't want this to turn into a hate fest on WWE right now.
I know, yeah, it is what it is. Like,
because right now I don't watch WWE. I gave up watching it a long time ago. I keep up with what's going on, but basically I watch the Royal Rumble. That's it.
I understand. Yeah, I haven't really watched the new stuff either. Like, just while here, some of these wrestlers. I don't know for sure the AEW. I know Aleister Black. His faction is pretty cool.
I watch AEW every week because to me that is good wrestling. Not only do they put on great matches, they put on great promos, they put on, basically everything you could want as a wrestling fan is on AEW, except for their women's division, which barely gets any time. Every week on Dynamite, it's just one women's match. That's it. Where for a 2-hour show every week, they need to do better. but they have so many wrestlers right now. What they really need is a second, like 2-hour show.
Yeah, but what is that? Is that wrestler on there? Stig STG. That he wears that the mask or the paint, the white paint.
Yeah, Sting is on AEW right now, and
Not
he's
not
still
not
wrestling.
not Sting, not Sting. Stig STG. I'm about to see the thing. If you look him up, he looks freaky, but he's like he might be on like he might. I don't think he's. I think he's like on the Ring of Honor level. Then if he's not on there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he's at. Ring of Honor was bought by AEW. Like,
Yeah. Well, he's at that. He ain't at the main shows. He's at the lower show. He's probably at the lower show. But he's like he wears like a white face paint, kind of like a. It's weird. I'll see you the link. Huh?
Danhausen?
Damn, I can't say it on the phone now because it kicked me out the discussion. But I'll show you. I'll send you the thing later, or you can look him up. STG wrestler. If you look him up.
I can look him up right now. But yeah,
Yeah.
Danhausen was on Ring of Honor, and he wears white face paint.
That might be his real name. I'm not for sure. He looks like it kind of reminds me of the Joker a little, but it's not.
Okay, I'm looking at pictures of him. I've never seen him before.
So can you put on the screen?
Dark STG.
That's him. Can you put him on the screen so I can see?
Hold on one sec.
Oh.
But yeah, it's definitely not Danhausen. All right.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I've never seen him before. Never heard of him.
Yeah, that dude's freaky. That's cool. But yeah, Alistair's Black Crew is heard that a lot of people like too, and I think it was cool. Tony Khan bought Jungle Boy's theme, the rights from I forgot who sung that song from the '80s.
Tarzan Boy.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the artist original, but that's cool that he bought that.
I don't think he bought it. I think he just licenses it. What's hilarious is he did buy the Hardys music. So when Jeff Hardy showed up on AEW, it was actually the old school Hardys music from WWF.
The fast beat one? Yeah.
Yeah, because apparently WWF never owned that original music. They just licensed it. So
Jim Johnson owns that.
No, because he didn't make it. Like an outside musician made that music.
Oh, damn.
So AEW just bought the music. So I was like shocked that they were using the same music. So I had to look it up, and I was like, "Oh, that's crazy that WWF never owned that music."
Did you see that? Did you see? They said Jeff Hardy's a triple mugshot king because he had a mugshot in each promotion. I was like, dang.
What sucks is that's his third strike, so I'm guessing he's going to jail. If it gets him the help he needs, then
I hope so. Yeah, because he's getting lucky. Like
what frustrates me is Jeff Hardy is arrested. Every time he's arrested, he gets suspended, right? Whether it's WWE or AEW, he gets suspended and all that. Jimmy Uso can get arrested multiple times for DUIs, and he's given the tag team championship. Because he's Roman Reigns' cousin. So he'll get arrested for DUIs multiple times. He don't get suspended. Instead, the following SmackDown, he'll be made the tag team champions.
Yeah. Uso did it. And what about Sunny? You heard what happened to her, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
She killed the guy.
Yep. So that's time. Like, shoot, you're gonna get time for that.
I saw an article that kind of cracked me up. It wasn't funny, but it was funny. Hold on, let me
Yeah, that Jungle Boy thing reminded me of
I can't share it, but it was Kayfabe News, which is like a parody wrestling news site, and it's the headline is Jeff Hardy and Sunny bump into one another during fingerprinting. So it's funny, but it's not funny. Like, because how much they get arrested. I've met Sunny before. Do you know? You remember Dave Klein, right?
Yeah.
Well, he has his own wrestling company, DCW Wrestling, in
Yeah,
Delaware.
Anthony. Yeah, Anthony. Be doing. I guess he's one of the managers or something like that, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, he's been doing it for a long time, like more than 15 years. And I used to go to the shows and hang out backstage a lot. So I've gotten to meet, because every once in a while he'd bring in some big name to pump up the show a bit. So I got to meet Sanjay Dutt one time, who was a really cool guy. I got to meet Jim Neidhart. And I also got to meet Sunny one time. And she was there at a show. And I mean, it's just, it sucks that these people can't get the help that they need.
I know.
And the thing is, though, Sonny's been in rehab multiple times.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where it's like, what needs to change for these people? Can anything help them?
Probably jail time. Well, for her, she don't have to go to jail this time because what she did.
Well, what's even more messed up is her lawyer just filed to remove himself from the case.
Dang.
Like, because apparently she's like pleading not guilty and that she didn't do anything wrong or something. It's like, you killed a guy. Her lawyer is trying to get her to agree to a plea deal so that she has less time that she has to serve. Instead, she's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Well,
He's just like, all right, I quit.
She went down a lot since Chris Candido passed away.
Yeah. But I mean, problems with that even happened before Candido died. Like,
yeah,
she was cheating on him like crazy. Like, X-Pac says in interviews, like, where like her and Shawn Michaels are getting it on, and Chris Candido's right there, like in the next room.
That's why he didn't want to mess with him or come to his. I remember TNA had a little thing for him, or they wanted X-Pac to be there, but X-Pac refused, or he said something happened. I guess he didn't like him for some reason. I guess that's one of the reasons, possibly.
Possibly. I mean, X-Pac was good friends with Shawn, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have much to add other than just hopefully they get the help they need, because something's got to change before they die, or in Sonny's case, accidentally kill somebody else.
Yeah. Well, they kind of got her on that. I don't know how, because she don't plead not guilty on that. That's gonna be amaze me on that.
If she pleads not guilty, she's gonna get convicted and just have to serve a longer prison sentence. Whereas if she pleads guilty, she'll serve less of a prison sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So what wrestling shows are you watching now? Are you watching any? Nothing? I'm telling you, man, watch AEW. It's really good.
I just got what I see on the pops up on someone Marky posts up, or I'll look on like
Christian just turned heel and it was so great.
I know, I saw the thing people were talking about. So it's kind of messed up. He talked about talking about his Luke Perry, talking about Luke Perry.
Yeah,
but that's the only way they pushed it, man. That's like he's trying to get in that heel thing. That's just, you gotta hit those sensitive areas. Just how it is.
Last week is when he turned heel, and Jungle Boy's mom and sister were in the crowd, and like he jumps out after he turned on Jungle Boy and was like, "Your son's an asshole!" Like, like just great stuff. Heel Christian is the best Christian to me.
I like his song. Like, I'm glad he kept that song. The one he had in TNA.
Yeah.
I like that song.
But yeah, this Sunday is the crossover show between AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. There should be a lot of great wrestling on that show, even if a lot of the matches are predictable. Like, I don't think they're going to put the title on a New Japan wrestler.
Well, of course not. They're not going to ship it over there.
And they got some interesting gimmicks I've never seen before in wrestling, like Orange Cassidy, the lazy wrestler who doesn't even want to be there.
Yeah, he puts his hand in his pockets and stuff. It's funny. Yeah. That's some skill to do that.
Yeah. And he's an amazing wrestler. So I mean, he sells the gimmick so well. The only thing that makes me sad about Orange Cassidy is that he's like almost 40, I think. And he doesn't look it, but he's actually getting up there in age. So I don't know how many more
That's how he
years.
does it. Just be lazy, just chill out, no stress. That's how he's like, I'm Orange Cassidy, I'm 105, but I look like I'm 54.
But he just came back from injury because unfortunately Keith Lee at the last pay-per-view like yeeted him out of the ring, and he threw him over Christian and Ricky Starks, who were supposed to catch him. So he just landed hard on his shoulder. So he was out for a few months.
That name Keith Lee, God, Lee always botching stuff. Man, King Botch, Keith Botch Lee.
And another funny gimmick that they got going on right now is Danhausen, who's very nice but very evil. And
He's the one with like a mask. He's the one who
he wears face
jester.
paint.
Yeah, he looks like a jester. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it's just kind of funny because like he's a bad guy who follows all the rules and hates swearing. Like it's a hilarious gimmick. He's obviously not a bad guy. Like fans love him, but like his favorite tag team is FTR, the Revival, because they always follow the rules. Like
What about Hook? What do you think about Hook?
I think Hook has got a lot of promise. I just hope they don't push him too hard too fast because, again, he's very young. If he doesn't get enough respect for the business in 2 years from now, he might just quit. You know what I mean? Like, What do I care? That's what I always worry about. I understand he's really popular right now, but give it time. In a couple years, maybe give him the TNT title, and then a few years after that, make him world champion. Like, make him work for it. Make him earn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I watch right now is AEW. And I recommend it to anyone who's a wrestling fan who stopped watching a long time ago.
Yeah, Impact's a joke right now.
I don't even know what's going on with that.
I
saw was when Christian was holding the Impact title and would like go down there to make a special appearance, and it would be like the tiniest crowd. Like I have no idea what their long-term plans are for the show, but they just refuse to die.
They might as well just let Tony Khan buy them out. It's like you might as well just. It's inevitable.
They don't have way too many wrestlers.
Yeah,
he bought Ring of Honor. He's got nothing to do with it. He uses the belts right now. Like so, he made Samoa Joe the TV champion. And the pure champion is Wheeler Yuta. Like, he put all the Ring of Honor belts, except for their world title, on current AEW wrestlers. I don't know if eventually he plans on starting a Ring of Honor show, but I just don't know. And not to mention, his shows are currently up in the air because Warner Brothers just merged with Discovery. And apparently the executives at Discovery aren't too big on wrestling. So when their contract ends, are they going to get a new contract? Who knows?
So put on ESPN.
I'm sure somebody will snatch him up. Don't get me wrong. It's just who knows what they'll do with their TBS and TNT titles. All righty, G. That'll end the show today.
That's great. I'll finally get on. No one wants to get on. Then when I can't get on,
yeah, I mean that's the thing. You know, there's 6 of us total, but you know, lining up schedules isn't the easiest. This was the night that was supposed to be where the most amount of us could get together, and it wound up just being 2 of us.
Yeah, I was like, I'll be there. I got no work. I'm like, shit, I might as well went to work tonight a little bit. Not really, because I'm tired. I want to relax. Hey, sidebar note, did you download the Shredder's Revenge?
I played the first few levels of it, and I love it. It's great. I just haven't had time to really dig into it more, but it is, to me, it is just like the old school TMNT. Even a little funnier.
I know. I'm waiting for that the Cowbugga collection come out later this year. I got my pre-order on the $150
because I love the TMNT 2, the arcade game, and I love 3, the Manhattan Project. I played a little bit of Hyperstone Heist, and you know, Turtles in Time is the one that everyone loves, and to me, it was short. Like, it was much shorter than the other games.
I remember the one that Konami made.
I think Konami made them all.
Konami is the side-scrolling one, kind of like Final Fight one.
The first one?
The one that's like on the arcades a lot. Konami made.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I like that. That's in the Cowbug collection. I can't wait to play that.
Yeah. And I've met Eastman, co-creator of TMNT. And he was a really cool guy. I met him in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he had a panel where he discussed how they created the Ninja Turtles, him and Laird, and it was basically them in a garage doodling things to make each other laugh. And that's how the Ninja Turtle started, because they thought it was funny for a turtle to be a ninja. So they just kept doodling and adding to it and passing it back and forth to each other until they came up with the Ninja Turtles. And Mirage Studios was their studio that they sold themselves as. And he said the name had a double meaning because all it was them in the garage. Like, there was no studio that they worked at. So Mirage, an illusion. They weren't like professionals.
That's smart. Keep that overhead down. That's good. Just a little idea like that come to a multi-million-dollar franchise.
And when we do my top 5 movies of all time, Ninja Turtles is on there. That original 1990 film.
Yeah, running right next to Over the Top. Remember, the world doesn't meet no one halfway. If you want something, you got to take it. And then everyone's like, "Oh, arm wrestle, that's so serious."
I would love a parody of Over the Top right now.
Mm.
For somebody to do a parody film of Over the Top, 40 years later, that would be perfect to me. I got no custody of my child.
Nah, you keep that, man. I'm surprised they didn't make a remake on it. Honestly, surprised. Or Cobra. Yeah.
Alrighty, that'll do it for this episode of the Nerdery. Thank you for anyone who watched and anybody who watches this on the replay. And we'll see you next time.